You ever wonder why some weapons were banned by every major power on Earth? Not because they didn't work, but because they worked way too well? That should terrify you.
Welcome back to another dive into humanity's greatest hits of absolute stupidity and horror.
We're talking about weapons. Not just any weapons. The ones that got banned. Ones that made generals, guys who literally plan mass death for a living, say, whoa, hold on, that's too far. We're not talking about nukes. Everyone knows nukes are bad. We're talking about the stuff that came before. The creative stuff. Someone and making them wish they were never born. These weapons, they specialized in the second part. Let's kick things off with a weapon so terrifying, we still don't know exactly how it was made.
Greek fire.
Greek fire was the Byzantine Empire's dirty little secret, a liquid that burned on water. Let that sink in. The Byzantines would load it into siphons mounted on their ships and spray it at enemy fleets.
Imagine you're a sailor. You see this glowing stream of fire arcing toward you. It hits the water, and instead of going out, it keeps burning. Your ship is on fire. You jump overboard to escape. The water is on fire too. Yeah, sleep tight.
The formula was so secret that only the imperial family knew it. They guarded it like nuclear codes.
And when the empire fell, the secret died with them. We still don't know what was in it.
Some kind of petroleum mixture, probably. Quicklime, sulfur, hell, maybe spite and war crimes. The Byzantines used it for centuries. Then they lost the recipe, probably for the best.
The ancient maps reveal our origins, but as we explain their secrets, a horror unfolds in flames.
All right, let's jump forward 1,000 years to when humanity really started getting creative with mass suffering. German forces release 168 tons of chlorine gas across no man's land. French and Algerian troops watch a yellow-green cloud roll toward them like fog, except fog doesn't dissolve your lungs from the inside out. 5,000 dead in 10 minutes, 10,000 more choking, blinded, drowning in their own fluids, and that was just the opening act. See, once one side used gas, everyone else figured they might as well too. Chlorine, phosgene, mustard gas.
Each one worse than the last. Mustard gas was the real winner, though. It didn't just kill you. It blistered your skin, burned your eyes. Gas didn't care who you were. Soldier, medic, didn't matter. Wind shifts, and suddenly it's your problem.
The defense was a cloth soaked in urine held over your face. Later, they invented gas masks, which worked great until they didn't, or until you couldn't get yours on in time. By 1925, even the generals were like, okay, this is actually too horrible. They banned it with the Geneva Protocol.
Guess how well that worked?
Here's a fun one that's technically still legal. Sort of, depending on who you ask and how you use it. That ignites when exposed to oxygen. Burns at about 1,500 degrees Fahrenheit to melt through metal and flesh. Mostly flesh, if we're being honest.
It's just for smoke screens and illumination.
Sure.
And a flamethrower is just for lighting campfires.
Here's what white phosphorus actually does. It sticks to you. You can't brush it off. Water doesn't stop it. Through skin, muscle, down to the bone. And it keeps burning until there's no more oxygen or no more phosphorus. Your lungs are done. Phosphorus poisoning shuts down your liver and kidneys. You don't die quick. It's been used in conflicts from World War II to today. Gaza, Fallujah, Syria.
The excuse is always the same. We were making smoke.
All right, smoke that melts people.
Geneva Convention says you can't use incendiary weapons against civilians or near civilian areas.
But white phosphorus isn't officially classified as an incendiary weapon by some countries.
Convenient loot loophole. We forget this. There's no real defense except not being where it lands.
And surviving means living with burns that never fully heal.
But hey, at least it's legal.
Let's talk about the weapon that keeps on giving. For decades,
Have me long after the war ends.
cluster bombs are pretty simple. One big bomb opens mid-air and releases hundreds of smaller bomblets over a massive area.
Sounds efficient, right?
It's the dumber one. Except here's the problem.
About 10 to 40% of those bomblets don't explode on impact.
A kid playing in a field 30 years later picks up something shiny.
A farmer plowing his land hits one buried in the dirt. Boom. They're essentially landmines with an expiration date of whenever someone gets unlucky. Laos is still dealing with cluster bombs from the Vietnam War. That ended in 1975. 50 years later, people are still losing limbs, still dying. The war's been over for half a century, and it's still killing. And it's not like these things are precise.
They scatter across football field-sized areas, civilian neighborhoods, farmland, doesn't matter. If you're in the blast zone, you're in the lottery.
Over 100 countries banned them in 2008 with the Convention on Cluster Munitions. Notice I said over 100, not all. The US, Russia, and China didn't sign. Survival tip? Don't live in a former war zone, or if you do, watch every single step you take, forever.
And now we arrive at the worst one. Weapon that didn't just kill soldiers. It killed generations. Agent Orange was a herbicide. That's the polite term. He sprayed 20 million gallons of it over Vietnam between 1961 and 1971. The goal? Kill the jungle. Destroy the crops.
Starve out the enemy.
One of the most toxic substances ever created. And dioxin doesn't just go away. And the Vietnamese soldiers and civilians were drenched in it. American troops walked through it daily. Nobody told them it was poison.
They swam in contaminated rivers, ate contaminated food,
Breathed contaminated air.
The birth defects started. Spina bifida. The list goes on. And on. We're talking third and fourth generation effects. 500,000 Vietnamese children born with disabilities linked to Agent Orange. Diabetes, Parkinson's. The Vietnamese government estimates 3 million victims total. There was no defense, no gas mask for this one. You just had to hope you weren't in the wrong place when the planes flew over. All the one chose. The U.S. stopped using it in 1971.
The damage is permanent.
So there you have it. 5 weapons that humanity invented, used, and then mostly agreed we probably shouldn't use anymore. Notice I said mostly. Because here's the uncomfortable truth.
Forbidden doesn't mean gone. It means hidden.
When discovered, stockpiled, waiting in some warehouse. Or no, with a label that says break glass in case of apocalypse.
We banned these things because they didn't just kill. They tortured.
They lingered. They destroyed people who weren't even born yet. And still, someone, somewhere, thought they were a good idea.
Thought the suffering was worth it.
System Plombayan makes you wonder what we're using right now. That people 50 years from now will look back on and say, what the hell were they thinking?
Spoiler alert, probably a lot.
But hey, at least we learned our lesson, right? We're civilized now.
Sleep tight.